Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally. And you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, God. The first one is always a bite. Hey, guys. Welcome to Finally Clicked with Jesse Moore and Margaret Smith. It's another ASMR and whiskey. Oh, my gosh. I didn't start it out right. Hello, everyone. Hello.
We try to space these out as best as we can.
Yeah.
And you know what? I actually kind of said it might be an ASMR and whiskey kind of day because of a lot of things. Primarily, this is our first time. I haven't seen you since last week.
Oh, with the Snowmageddon. Yeah.
We had the Snowpocalypse 2019 Snowmageddon. I know we referenced it in the last podcast, so let's just update everybody a little bit about what happened. Those weathermen, you know.
What are we going to say? Because I agree.
I owe them an apology.
Oh.
I didn't believe them.
Yeah.
I just, when they say it's going to be this record, like once in 100-year type of snowstorm.
Because they say stuff like that.
Right. And I expected us to get 2 inches.
Yeah.
And for it to be over with as soon as it started. And they were not messing around.
No, there was no messing around. That was like literally the drifts of snow that we have are still here to haunt us.
I think we had somewhere between 15 and 18 inches of snow at our house.
Oh, yeah.
And it was heavy and it was
solid.
Dense.
Yeah. And then mix that with some rain and it got real heavy.
I got stuck, and just to give people an idea, so
yeah, Jesse does not get stuck in the snow.
We're recording this on a Thursday. I grew up in Montana. It's like they could revoke my man card if I got stuck.
I was shocked
in a cul-de-sac in Snohomish, Washington, and that's what happened this morning.
Yeah,
I took one of my sons to a play date this morning, and they have a cul-de-sac with very little traffic there, and because there's very little traffic, the snow is dense and wet. And when I backed out, I got stuck in between two ruts, and my four-wheel drive Ford F-150 couldn't get out without me having to dig it out and apply some traction and some other things. And so literally, I think snow started like Friday. We didn't see anyone until today.
Yeah, I mean, this was after you got back from Mexico where you already had a first round, and then you came back, and then round 2 and round 3 came. And
so it's been me and the kids. Jill's had to work. Jill had to stay the night at the hospital in between shifts in case she couldn't make it back. It's been a chaotic week. It has not been a productive week. It doesn't feel like. I know we worked from home and we got some things done.
It's different when you don't see each other.
We're putting a listing on today. Mostly in spite of the weather. And there's a lot going on. Margaret's about to leave for family reunion, which is a Keller Williams conference that's taking place in New Orleans this year. I have attended every one of these since 2009 was my first one. This is the first one I'm not attending, and primarily because I had some scheduling conflicts. So there's just a lot going on, and we have a podcast to record, and we went through many topics, which we could have talked about, and we'll talk about them in the future. Yeah. But we also want to honor how we feel right now, and you're a little emotional.
A little would be understated, probably.
You're a little anxious.
Yeah, I'm feeling better after the whiskey, though.
And so
I also, it was hard to pick one topic. And so whenever we feel like this,
yeah.
I think we actually do better when we just do this ASMR and whiskey, because we can talk about all of them. And then we can dive deep into ones later on that we think are deemed necessary to do that.
So can I make a request now that I think of it?
Mm-hmm.
I needed like an ASMR caboodle. Or like an
What's
AS.
that? Oh, for going on your glass?
No, an ASMR like box of toys that I can, like a squeaky toy or lettuce.
Yeah.
You sent that corgi chewing lettuce.
Yeah.
That's that's a perfect ASMR
And that came
video.
from a podcast fan.
Right?
Yeah. No, you can absolutely. That's a great request, because I would love that too. We'll have an ASMR box of toys.
And Bud Light did an ASMR Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
Which
that
people
was
blew us up.
legit. That was legit. That people did blow us up. We're educating people about ASMR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know
You
anything.
started that role.
We actually don't know anything about ASMR.
We actually don't. Legit.
Other than it's, bizarre.
Yeah.
All right. So random things. Darren Brown, your mother, Mary Smith, watched the Darren Brown episode of Netflix. To be fair, people probably don't know unless they go to our Facebook page. You watched the Darren Brown special that I referenced. Mm-hmm. What did you think? What did your mom think?
Okay, well, when we went through it before, I think I told everybody it was just such a great short documentary to watch about someone whose eyes and awareness got totally opened. And so I told everybody about it. And I have several people that I've told, one of which is Melissa from Bellingham. She's watched it 3 times because she was just enthralled with it. So I suggested it to my parents, because my parents they're always looking for something new and different to watch. And now that they're close to fully retired, life is changing and things like that. However, my mom is very sensitive and very has anxiety and issues like that, and we talk about it openly.
Well, just to preface this, one of my favorite stories about your parents, and I don't know what it says exactly, is when you first came to work for me, and I was watching Walking Dead on the regular, and your dad has he likes that stuff. He kind of likes horror. He likes gory film. I don't know exactly how to describe it.
Yeah, we grew up watching Twilight Zone. And at the time that was, it's very, it's not gory at all. It was totally, it was scary for me, but for him, it's
it's a psychological thriller, which is funny because when you look at your dad, he looks like,
oh, he's Mr. Little Go Happy,
he looks like Ward Cleaver's dad.
Karaoke, yeah,
right,
yeah.
Glasses,
very,
mustache, very.
Yeah, I get a lot of my intelligence from him too, though. I mean, I think about my mom for sure. My mom's got all sorts of smarts, and so does my dad. And my dad and I are actually very similar in how we think actually.
So to finish the story, I had mentioned Walking Dead, and your dad's ears perked up, and he's like, "Oh, tell me more about this show." And I was really talking because I'm sure I was saying, "Hey, it's a great human drama." Mm-hmm. And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, it's the show isn't about zombies. It's not about zombies. It's not about horror. It's not about people dying. It's really about what would you do if you were in this type of situation, and some of the decisions you would have to make to survive." And that really piqued his interest. Yeah. And so for Christmas, I bought him the first season on
and
DVD.
They watched it all in one day.
And what's so funny is he decides, I think you guys were having Christmas Day at your house.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was there. The entire family's there. You've opened presents. You've done Christmas breakfast. And then your dad's like, "Hey, let's watch The Walking Dead." And
I forgot about that.
Only he wants to do. No one else is saying this. No one else is suggesting this. No one else is coming up with this idea. Andy says, "Hey, let's watch The Walking Dead." And to which I go, "What?" Mary's there. Mary's in the room. And she's going to watch. She can't watch The Walking Dead. I know your mom. She's way too sensitive for this. But you told me in full detail how you guys watched the whole season. Yeah. Your mom had her eyes closed the entire time and covered.
I think the 8th episode in, I texted you. I was like, "I'm really into it, but I'm not sure that we can watch much more." But we did. She got into the relationships piece of it, which I knew she would always get into.
And so she watched Darren Brown's episode much in the same manner, eyes closed.
Eyes closed. I think actually Dad said her face was under a blanket because she was on the couch, and usually she falls asleep. She did not fall asleep, and during it she's texting me, holy hell, what is happening? Is he going to jump? And then again, holy hell, did he get sued? Did he sue the guy? Because she's like, he's had to have sued him after what he did. Yeah. So I said, why are you watching this? If it's like, you can leave the room, but she couldn't leave the room. So I think she's okay. And at the same time, what's so funny was she was actually that same day finishing the book, Unfuck Yourself. And she was very anxious about that because, number one, she didn't like the title. She's not openly, doesn't love to swear. And she called me afterwards and she said, okay, I hated the documentary, but I love this book. And so we talked about the documentary and about how much anxiety.
And for everyone following along, the documentary or the special is called Sacrifice.
Yeah, go watch it.
By Darren Brown. Mm-hmm. It's on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Darren Brown is a mentalist of sorts from the UK. Mm-hmm. He's also an accomplished painter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his paintings are ridiculous.
Did you watch any of his other stuff?
I just watched that one.
Because I turned on one other one after I watched it with my roommate and started watching part of it. And it was him putting on what I think they introduced kind of like a show. Not similar to what you would see in Vegas, but kind of, I guess, like with a theater of people. And it had like a religious aspect to it. Huh. And anyways, it's probably for another podcast. You're going to have to watch it first. But I was really intrigued. I don't really understand exactly what he does.
What do you mean?
I mean, he's a mentalist, yes. But if you watch some of his other stuff, it's like a magic show, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, mentalists, I don't want to say every mentalist is a magician or vice versa, but there's a lot of carryover.
Okay. Because
all mentalism, my understanding of it is all it is a study of how the human mind works.
Yeah.
And the human mind, it's not a machine that is exact each and every time. In fact, we have problems with our brain and how it operates, and it tricks us. And like eyesight is a great example of that.
Yeah.
We see things upside down, but the brain flips it for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so in making some of these things.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah. So not only that, but there's like, it fills in
pieces
gaps. It fills in pieces that are missing.
That. Yeah.
And so we can't trust our brain 100%. It's not 100% exact. Mm-mm. It fills things in for us. And a mentalist understands that and exploits those to their benefit. Mm.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It just was funny that my mom chose to watch it, and it gave her such anxiety. But my dad was enthralled. She said the entire time he was totally intrigued. He, of course, went off and thought that there was a reason it came out at the time it did. I don't even know when the movie actually came out, but he sees other connections to other things that are happening in the world. And
well, I know you're traveling, so if you want Joe Rogan experience, how I learned about this special was that Joe Rogan interviewed Darren Brown in a long-form podcast. It's 2 or 3 hours.
I'll listen to that.
You should download that if you want to, on your travels, if you want to have a greater understanding.
Okay.
And then you also watched the movie I have talked about on this podcast, 8th Grade, which gave me tons of anxiety. And what did you think of that one?
I loved it. I could see, I mean, the whole time it's kind of like how some people tell me they feel about the show The Office with Steve Carell. For some people that have social anxiety or any kind of anxiety, it's really hard for them to watch The Office because it's so awkward at times that they feel that awkwardness and it's just super painful. Well, that movie, you will feel awkward for her, the girl that's the 8th grader that they're talking about. I loved it, though. I totally loved it because I think it was actually such a real portrayal of what 8th grade's probably like for kids. And, oh God, you go through all these emotions. Like, I felt so proud for her. She was doing these YouTube videos. I was like, what's up with the Gucci thing at the end? I didn't know that was a thing. But she's like doing affirmations for herself and talking herself through what's a really not a fun life for her. And then her dad, I thought was a really interesting character. And I loved like how he was able to connect with her finally. Because a dad and a girl, very different relationship than a mom and a girl. And so I really enjoyed that movie. I thought about suggesting it to my mom, but I thought I better not.
Oh, man.
She has such a love for kids. I think she would have a really hard time.
I think you're trying to kill her with anxiety.
Yeah. But it was a very well done movie. I thought it was excellent. I thought that girl, that actress, whoever she is, did a fantastic job. And it made me think about Selah, your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter is in 6th grade. Looks like she's in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I certainly have, as a father, I have a lot of empathy. As someone who went through 8th grade, I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah. What was 8th grade like for you, though? Was it hard?
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
8th grade was terrible because I spent the first 7 years of my elementary career in a super small country school. Like, literally, there was 2 grades per classroom. And my 5th and 6th grades that I was in combined was 11 people.
Oh, God.
So, and one
Little
girl.
House on the Prairie
So
style.
10 boys, 1 girl. We made the paper because it was such a small class. Between
I've never
two
even
grades.
heard of that small of a class.
Okay. I know you're a fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder.
Absolutely. It's the first
Little
thing I
House
thought
on the
of.
Prairie.
It makes me think of the Little House
Okay,
on the Prairie
I
schoolhouse.
basically went to her schoolhouse. It was a 4-room schoolhouse in the middle of nowhere, Kinsey, Montana. And so I went there for 7 years. These were all my close friends. Even the rival schools, like I knew all those kids because of sports and track meets and stuff. That's the only social interaction we had outside of our
Were you guys
school.
like your own baseball team? Because you would need every single one of you.
It was a little bit like Napoleon Dynamite, my first through 7th grades. Like, it was very similar to that. Just wide open spaces, feeding animals. Like, there's not a lot to do, so you do all sorts of weird things. Not weird, but like, anyway, unconventional. And so my 8th grade year, I would ride the bus 45 minutes each way to school from 1st grade to 7th grade. In 8th grade, they cut the spending for the bus program, and they wouldn't send the bus 45 minutes out to get us.
So then were you riding a horse?
No, I wasn't riding a horse. So we only lived 5 miles from town. It was actually closer for me to go to school in town, but the way the district was drawn, I was supposed to go to this country school that's 45 minutes away, which was no problem when the bus picked me up and took me. But when the bus no longer took me, my parents weren't going to drive me a half hour or 45 minutes to school. And so my last 8th grade, I went to a brand new school in town with way more kids that I didn't know. It was a pretty terrible year to go from that environment of close-knit,
How many
tight-knit,
people you think
such a small school.
Yeah. Were you in then a classroom of 30
My
kids?
class, my high school class that I graduated with was 169 people.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's roughly that many in
Yeah.
8th grade.
I would love to hear from people that are listening what some of their 8th grade memories are. Because, there's 2 things that stick out to me from 8th grade. There's many, but one is my jeans were too short, apparently, and I hadn't yet gotten a proper bra. So I was told both those things by some random kid in gym class. And it's amazing to me, like the girl in this movie, I think everybody can relate to her because something awkward happens to you when you're growing up. You can't avoid it.
No.
Right? We're
I
just
mean,
developing.
it's a rite of passage.
It is. It's
You literally have to swim through the sea of awkwardness.
Have your kids done that yet?
My daughter is approaching it ardently. Like,
she's ready for
what
it.
you just described with the jeans too short and the no bra thing, that's an issue sometimes.
Yeah.
I was wearing hammer pants in 8th
hammer
grade.
pants. I had hammer pants too.
So I had hammer pants.
Cotton?
No, I want to say it was like ran.
What's that?
You know, like silk, like ran, RAYON.
Wow.
Like they're pretty
Multicolored?
They were paisley. They're green and black. They were terrible.
Oh my God, that's
They were
amazing.
terrible. My mom was horrified. When I think back on looking at the hammer pants, I know for a fact, like she's like, "Are you kidding me?" Because I'm sure it's kind of tight in the junk area for a kid, for a boy especially. And I think she's like, "What is my son wearing, and why am I sending him to school this way?"
Were there other boys wearing those?
Oh yeah, that was very
everybody's
popular.
wearing. Yeah, I wore them in elementary
But
school.
I have to do things. It seems like I have to do things a little bit.
Earlier?
No, just off a little bit, right? So where I couldn't have the high-end hammer pants. I had to have the JCPenney version of hammer pants. And it was a far cry from anything MC Hammer would wear. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wore homemade hammer pants.
Oh, and my first dance was 8th grade.
Oh, really?
Like school dance.
Oh, yeah. We started earlier out here.
My daughter's talking about that now. So like
What
school
grade?
dance.
Sixth grade?
So I think next year the school dances start 7th grade.
Okay. Yeah, they called them school dances at 6th grade, but they were like everybody meets in the cafeteria for a half hour after school and you don't really dance. So middle school dances, high school dances were worse for me.
I know for a fact 8th grade was my first dance because Garth Brooks was the thing.
Ooh,
Friends in Low Places was huge that
Friends
year.
in Low
That year, 8th grade. How old are you in 8th grade?
You're 14 usually. 14, 15.
13, 14.
13, 14. Yeah. I was
So
older.
that would have been, for me, that would have been like 1980, 1981. Sorry, 1990.
I was like, what? You're not that much past
90, 90, 91.
Yeah.
So Garth Brooks is huge in Miles City, Montana. I'm wearing hammer pants.
And you just came from 11 kids.
I went from a 2-grade combined 11 kids to 1 grade graduating class 169.
Yeah, culture shock, totally.
Oh, I was a fish out of water.
Yeah. Did you get any friends right away?
One. That's all you need sometimes, right?
Is it lucky?
No, Lucky was in college.
Okay.
No, my friend, his name was Jeff, and we were Mutt and Jeff. Like,
that's a really popular pairing.
no, he was 6'4".
Okay.
In 8th grade, he was probably 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he finished developing, he was 6'4" and a basketball player, and we became. I think through church. I knew he was someone I knew through church, and when I saw a friendly face at school,
yeah.
I probably latched on.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. So,
What did you think about the movie?
I had a really hard time
I'm
watching
surprised
it.
you got through it.
I think I got super, super high before I watched it or during because the anxiety was out of control. And when I say high, everyone, I'm talking about cannabis, which is legal in the state of Washington. So before you get all weird about it.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you finished
it. It triggered so much anxiety in me. Mm-hmm. It was hard. Mm-hmm. It was hard. I was like, why would someone make a movie about this? Like, this is...
and they're approaching topics more and more like that, like kind of like, what's the other show we watched? I'm horrible at remembering things. We all watched it. It's the, even my mom watched it, kind of not a haunted series, but the kids, it's like The Sandlot, almost a copy of The Sandlot.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. So you noticed at the end or the beginning of those, they started talking about if you're a kid and you have issues, or you can call this number. I mean, I think they're trying to find ways to talk about depression, suicide, some really hard topics around anxiety, and they're trying to do it through television. And I think it's dangerous, and at the same time, it's commendable what they're trying to do, but you have to be really careful. So, I mean, I thought they did a good job with this movie, and they didn't go too deep into topics because there are going to be kids that watch this movie for sure.
Well, there's an aspect of the movie that you and I both found extremely positive, and that was how she would leave messages for herself in the future.
Yeah.
Like, as she started 8th grade, she would leave a message for herself when she graduated 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And she would say, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And, she kind of visualized what could go wrong and what could go well, and she chose to focus on what went well.
Well, and even beyond those messages, just her, I don't know if they were daily videos or whatever, but she was doing them for what she said were her people or her followers. I think they're really for her, about being brave, about stepping outside her comfort zone. Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah. I totally do that for myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At 37. Mm-hmm.
I know. I see that on Facebook. Like when you post for Pickett Street and then you log off and you log in as Margaret and then you give yourself a high five.
I do.
Like,
I just high five myself and then from all 5 accounts that I have. I just go through each
that's
one.
That's your version of that.
Totally. Yeah. Huh. There was something else I was going to say there. I can't remember. Transition.
You should try it again. Now it's better.
That was better now. Oh, yeah. That ice helps.
Yeah. All right. Transition. I'm going to hit you with something random.
Do it.
Let's talk about social media for a second.
Okay.
I hate Facebook. Mm-hmm. I don't hate it like a middle-aged man hates new things. I just really don't like Facebook.
What do you hate the most about it?
The lack of authenticity.
Okay.
I think you see people's best part of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of it's not even true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really weird when there's a snowstorm and everyone posts pictures of their backyard. Like, I saw lots of memes that made me laugh about that. You know, it's like they have a window. Like, and there was this great meme where it was a American Chopper or one of those Orange County Choppers meme where the dad's yelling at the son and the son's yelling at the dad, and the dad's like, post that stuff on Facebook, and the son's like, they have a window, they can see outside, they have snow in their backyard, they don't need to see the snow in my backyard. And it's true, man. Anything that happens, it's like the lowest common denominator of conversations. The weather, or what, you know what I mean?
Made it to the grocery store,
right?
Yeah.
And so the lack of depth, the lack of authenticity. Every once in a while, you'll see someone post something that's sad or depressing or real, and I kind of herald that. At the same time, I think I think people should be careful using it because I can see into your soul pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And there's a few people that I've been friends with for a long time, and when I don't have in-person communication with them, but I will listen to their posts, there's some neuroses in their mind about how they view life or how they see themselves.
Oh, sure.
And it's made me uncomfortable. Like it's opened my eyes up to certain people. But mainly, I guess, I think when I got separated and was going through the divorce process, I just retreated. I never made one post. I didn't have one post about my separation or divorce.
Yeah.
In fact, after I was divorced for a few years, I made a post about, I don't know, Jill or something. And someone who didn't pay attention was like, what's going on? And I'm like, life.
That's like the last thing you ask on Facebook.
Right. I go, life changes. Things happen. And so Facebook, for that reason, I don't like, from a larger viewpoint, I think Zuckerberg and I think they've created a monster they don't know how to control. I think they've learned how to make it highly addictive, but they didn't understand the ramifications of that. Now it's being used to determine how our government's going to be run, and I think it's dangerous, and I don't love it. I like Instagram because I like art, and to me, I can curate my experience better. I can turn off the noise. I don't follow everyone that's my friend. I follow all my friends that are artists.
Yeah.
I like people that create good content.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I like Instagram a little better. Snapchat had its moment. I feel it's fading quickly. But probably my top two right now are Instagram and Reddit. And so I really like Reddit. I like Reddit because of the long tail effect of it, meaning whatever your interest is, there's a subreddit for it. You can get into...
I haven't gotten into that.
You can find some people that are like-minded. Man, if we're coughing a lot, it's because it's so dry. After the snowstorm and everything, it's really so dry that everything's dehydrated and cracking.
It's really true.
That's why we're drinking whiskey as fast as we can.
Okay, so you like Reddit and Instagram.
Well, so if it weren't for our business, I would be off Facebook. I would not be on it.
You don't even need to be on there.
Well, I've thought more and more about that, but it's a media channel you can't ignore in business. You just can't. And doing so would be like ignoring the newspaper.
Sure.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I'm not going to game it. I'm not going to game myself. I'm not going to put my life on there to get better click results for my business. I'm just not going to do it. So Instagram, all you'll see is food, wine, travel, and concerts. and some kid stuff from me.
Mm-hmm.
I post very rarely. I'm like Banksy on Instagram. But Reddit, I like as I guess more from a voyeuristic standpoint. Like I don't have to contribute.
Yeah.
I can just consume content, and it's kind of a news channel for me. Mm-hmm. So I get my news that way versus I hate getting it on Facebook. There's so much misinformation. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe being a red state or living in a blue state, it's highly inflammatory, Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I see people posting stuff that I know isn't true on either side of the aisle. Yeah. It just makes me crazy because it's not even a safe environment where you can talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, my friend, and I'll call a few people out maybe, but no, I won't. I'll be nice. But I have a friend that posts highly politically to the left, to the left, to the left. And man, he kind of like, everyone gets fired up when he does it. Yeah. Because he doesn't do it in a way that's open or, you know, it's not like I'm open to another perspective. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, if I see one more anti-vaxxer or somebody, I think those are my least favorite people right now. And I'm probably going to piss some people off by saying that. But I think anti-vaxxers are the most dangerous people alive right now. And I see that on the other side or I see some other misinformation about climate change or who knows what. Yeah. So I guess I'm going to stick to Reddit and Instagram.
Good conclusion.
And that's why you manage our
So did you have a question for me out of that, or you just kind of wanted to go up
on it? I'm wondering if I really want to let go of it. I totally would let go of Facebook if I could. Mm-hmm. And I kind of don't like that I can't, which makes me just want to do it.
I know. You don't like to be told what to do.
Right?
Well, there's nothing holding you there. I'll tell you my perspective on all of it is that we're in a world where, for the most part, most people have freedom of speech. So what we find on Facebook...
don't get me started on this.
What we find on Facebook is the public. And so, of course, you're not going to see truth. Of course, we're not going to see people's whole lives. I recently had somebody reach out to me who I had met on a dating app and said he was asking how often or how much do I work? What are my hours like? Because it seems like I'm on all the time. And somebody else had said, like, what I portray on Facebook doesn't really portray the real me. And I said, well, of course. It's not 100% me. I'm very vulnerable. I'm very authentic. I'm very real on my posts authentic. And on Instagram and Facebook. Understanding, though, that for me, my standard operating procedure for any social media platform is positivity.
SOP is positivity.
My SOP is always going to be positivity. Maybe that'll be the title of this episode. But people can choose, as newscasters do, and people that write and people that are supposed to relay the news to us, they get to choose how they're going to do it and if they incorporate truth or lies or not. We're going to run into this in any platform, in any space you can imagine in the world. So my perspective is always use it for what it's good for and don't think about all the negative shit. Because if we think about it, every platform, including newspapers, books, they're all shaded in perspective. They're all, according to the author, how they wanted to portray their opinion.
Never to this degree, though. Like
I would challenge that because I think Facebook is just the first platform where we've had the ability to watch other people's lives unlike anything else. And I use it on the daily, and I will not be going off of it anytime soon because any candidate that we have walking through the doors of Pickett Street to interview, I absolutely look them up on Facebook. The network that it's given me, I mean, by far has changed my life over the last 6 years, along with this job. You asked me to take charge of the Pickett Street Facebook account. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Because I've met people around the world that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So, but I'm a glass half full type person, and the lies and the half truths, the depression, the anxiety, all the negativity is going to show up anywhere in life. And I just think I think people have to be smart about what they decide to share with the world. And for me, if you want to hear about what happens in my life that's not positive all the time, you can come and become my friend because that's the only way you're going to find out. Like, I think we have to be careful about what we choose to focus on.
I would disagree, though. I think if you want to know about the stuff in your life that's not 100% positive, you have to get offline to get there.
Absolutely. Not just become my friend, but get offline.
Yeah,
I'll
your
talk about it
friend
offline. Yeah.
I don't think being your friend.
Oh
on
no,
Facebook.
I didn't mean friend on Facebook. Sorry, I meant friend in real life, offline. Absolutely, totally agree. I think what you end up dealing with on Facebook is people from all sorts of different places, all levels of emotional intelligence, and you just have to be careful about what you put out there because it's going into the hands of people that, like just for instance, my profile became public. Like I think I made it public like 3 years ago. Because I realized anything I was putting on there, I made sure I didn't care who saw it. Yeah. And then in the last 6 months, I've actually put on there that I'm single, which is a step for me because I always hid that because I didn't really care who knew what or anything. But I decided why not? Like that's part of who I am. And ever since then, I've gotten a lot of random friend requests from random dudes. I got a date post the other day. I got the DMs are sliding in. And so is there a lot positive happening from that? Not necessarily, but it's stuff that I can block out. I can draw the boundary. I can draw the line. And I think for people that can't draw boundaries, it's probably a really hard space. And I think for you're just very aware of, you look at it from a global perspective, which I appreciate. But I think sometimes maybe I probably see more of the positives because I've been the one to, push it forward from the business perspective. And there's so much from Pickett Street that's happened because of social media. You can't deny it. I mean,
all right. Well, here's a concern that I have.
Okay.
And you brought it up with freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know how unique of a country we are that we have freedom of
I totally
speech.
Agree. Yeah.
Canada doesn't have freedom of speech, which is crazy to me. But we're one of the only countries that has this as like a common creed. Mm-hmm. That we're not going to deny it to any person the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
What concerns me is Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, a lot of these social media.
I don't even know Patreon.
Well, I can explain it in a little bit. But a lot of these social media companies, because they're privately owned, because they're not government utilities, they have terms of service. Mm-hmm. And if you violate the terms of service, they can ban you or block you or keep you from posting. So, and this is becoming a thing where they are censoring very specific voices without a lot of understanding or explanation. Mm-hmm. And so, and I hate to say this person's name because I don't want to give him any.
Yeah, don't.
But like there's Alex Jones is a political figure. He's like...
Okay.
Rush Limbaugh or Bill O'Reilly. He's like he's 10 times more vocal and probably 10 times more unhinged.
Okay.
Less logical.
Okay.
And so he got kicked off Twitter. It's a big thing. He got kicked off Twitter. He got banned from Facebook. He got banned from YouTube. Mm-hmm. So they take away basically all the distribution networks for his content.
Okay.
Ban him.
Yeah.
Now, it gives him, but it fuels the fire.
Yeah.
Now, all these people, all of his followers.
Can you find some other way?
It validates their experience, which they think that we're trying to censor them. Mm-hmm. They think that their government is out to get them, that the government is trying to inhibit free speech.
Yep.
And then it happens.
Yeah.
And now they have fuel for their fire. Mm-hmm. And I understand that we want to live in a world without hate speech and without... there's certain things I'd love to be without every day. Mm-hmm. But I just think that private companies should operate constitutionally as well. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think that YouTube is a great example, and Twitter. YouTube and Twitter are great examples of a media channel becoming a monopoly. And now I think I can see YouTube becoming a government utility or Twitter becoming a government utility, specifically because it should be a forum that everybody's allowed to speak from. Mm-hmm. And if you start to ban people or censor people based on their ideology or their freedom of speech, I think that's a slippery slope.
I agree. Totally. I mean, we welcome to the gray area, right? Like, how do we... I wonder what it was that made them decide to ban him. Like, did they... my only thing would be...
I can tell you.
Okay.
Specifically, he said some highly inflammatory things that basically I'm going to space. I hate to space on this. The kid is one of the school shootings.
Okay. Okay.
I can't.
Because it just comes to mind is would the only reason I could see someone being banned be because of threat of injury, or they'd have to threaten someone's life. I imagine that would be like worst case scenario, that you would be kicked off.
Oh, Sandy Hook. Okay. So basically, Sandy Hook, which was a terrible shooting, because it was kids, like elementary school kids.
Yeah.
It's a terrible, terrible event in our history. And he basically said something that flippantly, he kind of said maybe it's a conspiracy. Maybe it didn't happen.
Okay.
And then maybe it was a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a parent of one of the kids that died,
Sure.
you want to skewer him,
Yeah.
justifiably.
Yeah.
And so because of that, because of his rhetoric around Sandy Hook,
Mm-hmm.
that was the leverage they used to get him off all these channels.
Okay.
And I'm not saying, I'm not agreeing with anything he says.
I know,
I'm
but
not.
but the whole idea
I will
behind
never,
it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I do believe that we live in a country where you should be able to say whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if people don't want to hear him,
Don't
they should
listen to him.
turn him off.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of people I don't want to listen to, so I don't, and I don't need to bash them. I just turn the sound down, go to something else. Like that's again, I agree with you.
But you and I are good at boundaries. You
Yeah,
guys,
and there's a lot of people that I'm realizing are not.
We're
People are
good at
not.
going, you know what? This doesn't serve me, and I don't agree with it. Click.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I have to go and do anything about it necessarily, unless I believe it's something that I'm vehemently like passionate about, that I have to make a stand about for some reason or not. But yeah, it's a really good example.
So that concerns me. It concerns me that we're
Sure, understandably.
in a day and age where YouTube can
Yeah.
curate the content
Yeah,
that we see.
yeah.
And in light of everything that's going on with Russia and, man, it's just, we live in a crazy, crazy time.
Yeah, no, social media is a dangerous line for a lot of people, I think. And so that's why I choose to just make it all positive. I mean, as an example, like I posted something 2 days ago about what it's like to date after you're 30. And I thought it was hysterical because I got a lot of responses. People love talking about.
There's a few people that were shocked, though.
Yeah, they were like, real deal. Let's, it's a real life situation. And people love talking about drama, right? They love talking about relationships. They love talking about love, essentially, is like always a hot topic for people. But there were a couple people that were like, this is sad. I don't like this. I don't like this idea. I don't like this concept. It just makes me sad. And I said, it all depends on how you choose to understand it or how you choose to view it.
I would love to talk to these people because I think you're a genius for not getting married young.
I do agree with you now.
I know you could
understand. I understand now, though.
And I got married young, too soon. I didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my recommendation that people don't get married till they're 30.
Mm-hmm. I agree. At least 30. Because there's too many people I know. And a lot of my good friends from college, I was with a group of 5 or 6 friends that have always been tight. They're all married now. And I think they all got married under the age of 30. Now they were prepared for they knew what they wanted. It was, they're different. Like, I'm fortunate to have some friends that are really intelligent and emotionally they were ready for it. That was not me. At least I didn't find the person that would have made a good match like they did. But I would agree that overall, I'm super grateful. I was a different person in my 20s than I am now. I wouldn't have been a great wife. Oh God, no, it would have been awful. So
yeah,
people are too driven by society. And I agree with you, like in terms of social media and what's around us, people are driven by what they're influenced by. And so that's why I'm super careful about how I choose to influence. My influence is positive, because if I ever said something that made somebody do something in a negative capacity, I would feel awful. I'm not going to risk it. It's not worth it. So nobody should get married until after. I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, marriage advice. That's what you're
marriage
getting.
advice from Finally Clicked. Good.
From one single gal and a divorcee.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. You're headed to Family Reunion, which is a Keller Williams convention.
Keller Williams Cult Convention.
Yeah, cult convention. I will say this. Yes, the convention is called Family Reunion.
Yeah.
Which is very culty.
So weird.
Very culty.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like
it sounds like a party with your family.
it sounds like a Mormon church get together.
It does, totally.
bit.
It's a good comparison.
Yeah.
I think when you first told me about it, I just didn't really actually believe. I thought you were trying to joke with me.
Yeah.
about the title of it,
Right.
honestly.
Well, we're all gearing up to go see our dad, Gary Keller, and our stepsisters, our redheaded stepsisters and brothers from around the country. I'm not going this year because of some scheduling conflict. My first time I've not gone since 2009. I do want to tell this story. I thought about this. This would be a good story to tell.
You are a good storyteller.
And if you, it's too late. I'm not gonna convince people to buy a ticket to family reunion. But I'll tell you.
There might be a few random ones left.
I'll tell you why you should go.
Oh yeah.
The first one I went to was in 2009. I sold 3 houses.
Where was it at?
2008. So it was a commitment for me. It was in New Orleans.
Oh.
Yep. And it kind of blew my mind. And not in the way that you would expect. It wasn't from going to the conference and listening to people speak so much as one elevator ride that I took. And in this one elevator ride, I was coming from the conference. I was going to my room. I was a little down and depressed because the market was super hard. And here I'm hearing all these people talk about how they closed hundreds of transactions, and I closed 3 the year before. And it didn't make sense to me. I still didn't know how you got there. And I get into the elevator of my hotel with a guy that looks like Mr. Rogers, only with less hair.
Oh, did he have 143 tattooed on himself somewhere?
I mean, I didn't inspect him for tattoos, to be sure. But he had on like a cardigan sweater. He was frail, skinny. He had glasses.
I love
and
Mr. Rogers.
Less hair, right? And as is common at a real estate conference, people always talk about their business. And so he asked me.
You have your elevator speech ready.
He asked me how I'm doing and everything. And I think I lied. I said I did 24 transactions. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's good. It's good. And I go, how about you? And he goes, 296. And I'm like, this Mr. Rogers looking, cardigan wearing, hair receding, salesman.
He got you beat by about 293.
Sold 300 homes.
Yeah.
And it really motivated me to be like,
get your butt in gear.
get my butt in gear and figure this out. And I have to say, it was the first time I had ever heard of people selling hundreds of transactions in a year.
Yeah.
I didn't have the mindset for it until I went. And so by going, I started to foster the mindset that I could do this. And 4 years later, we closed 202 transactions. And it was a direct result of me going to family reunion. Had I not gone to family reunion, I would not have ever thought about closing or having a goal to close hundreds of transactions.
Actually.
So I just want to give everyone that might be going an opportunity to really dive into it and focus on what you want. I'm a big believer in, for me, the conference happens outside of the conference rooms. I'm doing everything I can to meet people for coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, to rub shoulders and elbows with these people and to get a sense of what makes them unique and special and what they're doing that I can maybe incorporate into our business as well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not able to go this year, regrettably. I'm sending you in my stead to be a voice for Finally Clicked in the Pickett Street, which you do well anyway. What are you looking forward to?
Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to meetings. So I think the first couple years for me were just attending the classes, figuring out what this was all about, kind of experiencing it. And now there's a definite shift for me in the last 2 years to just specific meetings with people, like you said. And I was pulling up a text because somebody texted me and said, think of family reunion as a treasure chest filled with an amazing number of valuable gemstones just sitting there waiting for the picking. And so what I've done is probably similar to what you've done before. And you actually told me to do this the first year I went. I think this is my 6th or 7th year. And the first year you said, like a couple months ahead, you said, meet some admin on Facebook, actually, and schedule a time to meet with them. And I actually organized my first little mastermind there because I couldn't find very many masterminds that were happening. So I made one, and it was a really interesting experience. But I remember we met at lunch. It was like 15 of us. I'll never forget it because I remember people that were there that I see now. And much like you say that helped change your mindset. It was crazy how a conference like this can open you up because it's not really about real estate. It is and it's not. It's about changing how you think about the world. And that's what blew my mind. I was like 4 months into my job and you took me to this conference and I thought to myself, wow, Margaret, there's a lot that you have not yet done that you can do. And I think it helped validate actually a lot of the skills that I had because I was able to compare myself, which is not, you don't want to play the compare game a lot, but when I was able to put myself in a room filled with people and understand that I had talents that other people didn't have, it totally set me on fire completely. So this year I'm meeting with people every day. I get in at 3:00 tomorrow and I have a marketing mastermind with 60 other people from 5 to 8 that I'm meeting with my good friend Brett Shagru, who's the tech guy for KW now, from 8 to probably 10. And then Saturday morning I have a meeting. Saturday lunch I have a meeting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, like my friend Brett says, I'm focusing on the people this year that will help me towards my goals. And I'm less focused on just attending the classes and meeting a bunch of people that I just haven't met yet on Facebook. I'm being really specific about who I talk to.
Well, I think that's the biggest hack for a conference like this is to just be intentional. Yeah. And to seek people out, build lasting relationships.
Because what? 14 to 17,000 people? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Or you could stand in the middle of the hallway and hand out your cards to everyone that goes by you.
I thought about making some sort of a finally clicked sign and just standing there in the middle with my ASMR and t-shirt on and just, But the last time I went and I saw the guy with the horse head on, I was like, I can't be that guy. I can't do it. I can't be that guy standing
Isn't that a character in The Bachelor?
Maybe it was. I don't know. I just remember thinking I can't do that. I will be wearing that t-shirt though, proudly.
What t-shirt's that, Margaret? I don't know of what you speak.
It is the ASMR plus whiskey shirt that I quickly had made up.
Once again, you didn't run by me.
No, I think you said that. What did you call me that day? You said you're just you just run with it. Yeah, I ran quickly with it because I knew I needed to get it here before family reunion. And I also wanted to be able to get it to a couple people specifically who have become really just steadfast fans of Finally Clicked. And so I ordered, I think it was like 7 total. And I was kind of shocked at some of the people who already asked for it ahead of time. And so I think we're going to have a clothing line coming up here pretty soon.
Well, and I want my design to be in there as well.
It will be. Yeah, but people are loving this ASMR and whiskey sessions that we do, the segments.
Transition
time.
Margaret's turn to sponsor a topic.
Oh my gosh, my turn. Okay, let me think real quick here. Are you going to be missing out? Are you going to be FOMOing?
Am I going to be missing out?
Are you going to be FOMOing while we're all at the conference? Or
No.
are you kind of over it?
No, I'm over it.
That's sad.
Well, I'm going to miss my friends. I'm going to miss seeing my friends.
Yeah.
I'm just in a phase of my life, and this is a problem, to be honest. I just don't want to do anything outside of what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Traveling is exhausting. Work trips are exhausting. Family reunion, that conference is exhausting.
It is.
Because, so here's another tip. I thought we were transitioning. So sorry for the ASMR transition when we're staying on the same topic.
Oh, yeah, we haven't done tips yet.
But people stay up way too late. They get way too drunk. They act way too silly.
Amen.
They sleep in. They miss the good content. And there was a period in my life I wasn't yet enough of an adult to have boundaries, to know how to handle that.
Sure.
So I'd stay out late.
Yeah.
I'd sleep in.
Yeah.
I think I would do it very differently now.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not worth it. It's not worth it to stay up late.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to drink too much.
Yeah.
It is worth it to get your sleep and to feel good the next day, to be lucid. Like I said, and New Orleans, it's a love-hate relationship with New Orleans. I think New Orleans is a super cool town. I also think it's super gross and disgusting. And you've got to take, all of it. You can't just...
Yeah.
You can avoid Bourbon Street, I guess.
And you got to take your boots, too.
Yeah, take your boots and your Purell.
So what would be a couple tips you have for people going?
Like I said, the first one, be intentional.
Yeah.
Second one, I'd plan on going to bed like at 11.
Yeah, ideally.
Like hit the pillow at 11 if you can.
Yeah.
So that you can be up and ready to go.
I think it starts the next day at 7:30.
To be fair, I've been that person that is rowdy and is having a good time. It's just when you have 14,000 people doing it
it's
in a
overwhelming.
city, all wearing Keller Williams red shirts, you have to understand that there is a PR element to this, and some people kind of hate us because of how we act. And I say we collectively, it's probably less than 5% of the entire group, but it's mostly team leaders, it seems like, which are highly gregarious, highly interpersonal type personalities.
You get a whole bunch of people in the same room that all love to talk to people. Yeah.
But I would just really be intentional about the classes I took, be intentional about the people I met, and try to make the most of it. Try not to miss sessions if you can. Or be intentional about what sessions you want to miss so that you can meet with other people, whatever the case may be. So some of my closest friends came from, meeting them at family reunion. So I'm a big believer, big fan.
Big fan.
I just, having just gotten back from Mexico and then going through snow apocalypse, I don't know that I can handle a trip to New Orleans at this point.
Yeah.
But you knock your socks off.
I'm going to. Yeah,
I just asked you to transition, and you went back to the original topic.
I don't even know how it happens sometimes. You're the one that keeps us on
because you're
track. Emotional? Well, no, I'm going to give my tips, and then let's transition.
Okay.
My tips are similar to yours. Be intentional. So set a meeting. Actually, somebody messaged me the other day asking about something about family reunion, and I said, here's what you do. Find an admin that you want to meet with right now. Go on Facebook, research them, find them, set a time before you go. And so I've had a couple people reach out to me, and I'm having to be really have to have some discernment. I can't say yes to everybody, and so I'm telling some people, hey, let's meet up in this session and Gary Keller's vision talk, and let's sit next to each other and we can chat between things. But the people who are purposefully asking me for a time, putting it on my calendar, it's really nice when someone's asking to meet with you, right? And they offer to send you a calendar invite rather than me saying, because if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. So be intentional, figure out who you want to talk to before you go, make a plan, and wear clothes that you're going to be comfortable in. Don't wear heels if you're a lady. If you're going to be on a panel, I understand sometimes you want to put some heels on when you go, but do not ruin your poor feet as you're walking the hundreds of miles you'll be walking up and down the conference runway and then out into the French Quarter, where you'll then want to transition to boots because, like Jesse said, it's disgusting in parts of it.
Yeah.
So wear comfortable clothing, and then be intentional with the questions that you ask too. So when you meet with these people, have questions prepared. I've had people come who want to meet with me for coffee, and then they don't know what to ask me. And I've taken the time out of my day to walk away from the conference, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden they don't know what to ask.
That'd be a good way for you to discern who to meet with, is let me see your questions you would ask me.
That's a good idea.
Right? Hey, send me the questions you want to ask me in advance.
Yeah.
And then determine who you're going to meet with based on
because I do that I
do
do that now on phone calls. I'll ask people, what do you want to talk about in advance? And if they don't know, I'll say, figure it out before we set a time. So maybe I should start doing that with this.
The other thing that drives me crazy, and I'll get your 2 cents on this. I'm kind of infamous for this. But I don't understand why people sit with their market center at these things. Why would you travel 1,000 miles or more, or however long it is, and then sit with all the people you see every day in your market center? Hello, like, what are you doing? I don't understand it. Are they going to give you more business? Mm-hmm. No, they're not. Why? Because they're your competitors. They're in your space. Mm-hmm. Who's more likely to give you referral business? Mm-hmm. Anyone other than your market center. And so I have a maverick type reputation in my office because I don't want to sit with my market center. I want to sit with people that I don't get to see every day.
Yep.
I want to sit with people from Arizona and Texas and Florida and New York.
I think this is where we get a bunch of high eyes in a room and feelings get hurt. And all it is after people go 1 or 2 times and they begin to understand what that means. Some people never understand it. I think a lot of it has to do with how the market center frames it, what it's supposed to look like. And so I've taken that upon myself too to do the same thing that you do, because the whole reason I leave the state is to meet people outside the state. And I love the people in our market center. I spend time going to the office weekly meetings to have time with them, to get to know them. I go to the parties, I go to the events. When I'm leaving to go out of state, yeah, same thing. And I think they learn, and I'm happy to tell people when they ask me why I'm not sitting with them, hey, it's not because I don't like you. I actually like you quite a bit. That's why I'm in your market center. But I haven't seen Joe from South Carolina in a year. And my job right now is to meet with Joe, see what he's, this is where you connect with people that are not in your comfort zone. They're outside your circle. This is where, so it's just, I think it's all about educating people on and reminding them that this is not about us becoming best friends on this trip. It's about growth. It's about opportunity. And those things, 2 things require you stepping outside your normal circle. So I think a lot of it has to do with how the market center team leaders and things educate the people that are going. If I were a team leader, I'd be telling everybody, don't sit together. I'm not going to save you seats at the big meetings.
What a waste.
I agree. And I think it's stressful for them. I think it's super stressful. And I would say go fly your wings. Go find other people
honestly,
to sit by.
It's a cultural phenomenon I don't like or understand at the reunion.
I don't know if the team leaders are asked to do that.
The seat saving is so ridiculous.
It's like going back to elementary school and how
worse
people.
I know. They're like, that seat's saved. I'm like, really?
I forgot about that part.
Does that work really on funny. Me, by the way? If someone tells me that seat's saved, do I just go, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I didn't see your fake friend.
I think they've had to start some rules around that because
I so many people off because I just sit down. I go, oh, really? Okay, I'm sitting here. And they're like, what? I'm like, free country.
Yeah. And
that's how I build relationships.
Free country.
Networks.
Get outside yourself. I totally agree. So I think people understand that when they see me in that environment. I'm never with the same group of people every day. It's different. And so I've just come to understand that I'm going to hurt some people's feelings, and I have to be okay with that.
You're so tall. If you wore like a tall hat,
I know. I just stick
like
out
lighthouse.
Like a sore thumb, like a lighthouse, there's so many comparisons. God.
Give me one.
Okay, I was thinking of like Michael Jordan, like a really tall basketball player. People already think I'm tall as it is, so if I just throw on some heels and a top hat, that'd be really fun.
You should wear a shirt that says volleyball player.
Yeah. Because I like to specify.
Volleyball? Do you play volleyball?
You're so tall. Volleyball over basketball.
Do you play basketball?
Way better.
You're so tall.
Oh my God, do you play tennis?
Do you play basketball? Your dad must be tall.
Your calves are huge.
And he's strong too.
Is that from Napoleon Dynamite?
No, it's just from life.
I like it.
Yeah.
Are we transitioning away now?
Yes. Now you really have to transition.
We're transitioning, okay.
No, going backwards. We're only going forward.
Can you teach us something new? Like you did ASMR? You have something new else you can teach us?
Oh, some sort of new phenomenon?
Yeah.
Yeah, ASMR is so old hat.
Just like
so
yesterday. Yeah.
I mean, Bud Light's doing commercials about it.
You got to keep us ahead of the trends.
All right, I'll share something new that I'm kind of fascinated by.
Okay.
I read an article that says that scientists believe that schizophrenia may actually be caused from your gut biome.
What?
And it's not in your brain.
Are you kidding?
That it comes from your gut and the bacteria in your gut, and a very specific bacteria.
This is interesting.
It's super interesting because we've been looking for it in the brain, and we haven't been able to find it.
Yes.
They've never found,
yes.
There's no
Actually, I
causality.
can think of several people in my mind right now who have struggled with this.
And what's also interesting is, so I've made no bones about the fact that I listen to Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience often. So he just had a debate on yesterday about cannabis, use of pot, and it was all about, a lot of it was about people with mental illness specifically, that they probably shouldn't use it because there is a correlation between the use of marijuana and mental illness and a proclivity to violence.
Oh, okay.
And what's interesting to me about that, so by using marijuana, if you have mental illness, it can make those symptoms worse and make it where you may not come out of it, right? Which is interesting because is that a drug affecting the brain? And then it's hard to make the connection.
They're saying that it possibly could alter you completely.
It
Not
could.
just while
Some
you're under
people,
the influence, but
some
beyond.
people.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you digest marijuana and it goes through the biome, and that does something to the biome, which then the biome is, if that's tied to schizophrenia, that's a whole new thing.
That's super interesting.
And I think stuff like that's super interesting because I always think, I try not to assume, right? If you don't know that, go listen to the 4 Agreements podcast episode we did. But we make a lot of common sense assumptions that if it's schizophrenia, that means their brain's screwed up.
Yeah.
So we need to look in the brain for that. When what this article said is there's links showing that it's probably more a response to bacteria than anything.
Interesting.
And to me, I just love it when we find stuff
new discoveries
that
all
is
the
contrary
time.
to common sense. Because it really just shows how uncommon common sense is.
True.
So.
Uncommon common sense. Well, thank you. ASMR still has my heart.
I know. I can't do better right now than ASMR. That was just a random factoid.
That is interesting, though. I can think of a couple examples right now. I'm going to have to go research that. Yeah.
I mean, ASMR is our baby.
It's going to be here for a lifetime.
It's our baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whiskey. Have we reached out to sponsors yet?
We've reached out to just one, so I really need to reach out to more to see if someone wants to. We've actually had a couple new followers on Instagram that are whiskey companies. So I can't remember I think I always use the whiskey hashtag. So I think I just need to make it clear that we're looking for one.
Why is that?
So we can continue these ASMR.
Because we are podcasters that drink whiskey.
Podcasters for life.
Sometimes. What's going on in your life? Anything new and exciting?
Anything new and exciting?
Yeah. Hand on the hip. She's working hard on this answer, everybody.
You know what? Yeah. There's new stuff happening. I'm opening myself up to the dating world. That's what's most recent. I figured it's like, I'm open to talking about it.
You said that like you're sitting at a French bistro with a cigarette in your hand. I'm opening myself up to dating.
Well, it's a hard dating world out there, and Seattle's not exactly
So I'm going to call your bluff for a second.
Environment. Oh, please call it.
Because I feel like this is what happens, is you're like, I'm in the mindset to be available for dating, but I'm not actually going to do anything.
Amen.
In
that
regards
is not what
to,
I don't just open myself
like,
up.
you're not going to set up an account or put yourself out there. You're just going to be like,
I'm open.
I'm open.
Come and find me.
In a cerebral way, I'm open to the prospect of dating someone.
Oh, God. It's so true, though.
But you're not going to put your line in any
the water.
fishing holes.
Well, I've got it in one water.
One water?
One little pond.
Yeah, what pond?
It's the Hinge app.
The Hinge app.
Mm-hmm. It's $10 a month. I figured it's a small investment for future happiness.
All right.
The dating world, it's... I'm going to write an article or a blog about it because...
all right, you mentioned this. And then a lot of people got really uppity about it.
Everybody has all sorts of feelings and opinions when it comes to love and dating.
Are you not supposed to talk about this?
About what?
What are people upset about? I don't understand why they're anti.
Anti me writing this?
Yeah.
I think they're being protective. I think they think they're being protective of me when actually they're just protecting their own feelings. I think they worry that me being vulnerable and being open about the pros and cons of what I've experienced as a single person is being too vulnerable. And I shouldn't open myself up in that way to be hurt, is what I've heard.
You wrote a blog post similar to this years ago.
Yeah, and it was very low-key,
But it was very well received.
It was super well received, yeah.
And this is like a 2.0 version.
Well, this is going to be longer and more open. That was very business-oriented, really. It was just a funny little take on a blind date that I went on, where I didn't even discuss really very much about the date. It was more about how I talked about the business. This one's going to be more specifically my experience as a single lady and taking things on that normally people don't take on, like the duplex rehab and confronting feelings, confronting people that a lot of people want me to date. They want to see me with someone because it makes them feel better that I have someone. And probably including my mom. It makes her feel better to feel like I have...
I'm not looking forward to it.
Why? Like my whole work family is going to experience it with me for sure.
No, I jest. But, I mean, you're such a great worker. I don't want...
This is what it comes down to. My job's going to...
I'm worried about how it's going to affect your job performance.
Well, it will. It will.
I sent you some text yesterday, and it took like 2 hours for you to respond to me. For some reason that I found out about earlier today. But.
Yeah. Yeah, it will for sure. It'll affect... But, you know, that's natural. If someone ebbs into my life, other things flow out. And... you know, I mean, but it's going to have to be a very special person because I don't date for fun. As you just mentioned earlier, when I get on these sites, I'm not going to go on a date with someone who I don't think there's any sort of potential for a connection. So I'm picky, and I'm also just like, I don't want to waste my time. And there's a lot of people on these apps that are just looking for a hookup or something, and that's definitely not me. So that's the most newest and excitingest thing that I can think of because otherwise... I'm looking to possibly take a trip to Iceland, which is looking
Can I share for a moment that your roommate tried to hook you up with a homeless man?
You can absolutely share that.
I mean, I hope I can because it's kind of out of the bag.
It's out there now. No, I've had four blind dates in the last year.
So you have two lines in the water. I
got 2 lines.
The Hinge and homeless men.
Yeah.
Can we set a rule that you don't date homeless men?
You know, it doesn't even matter about the homeless part so much
as the prison record.
Like the prison record, possibly.
The restraining order.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think so. If I am going to go real vulnerable with this.
You don't have to go real vulnerable.
I mean, I'm not going super vulnerable, no. But I'm saying I need to change like the type of person that I date because I think I tend to date or have dated people that I'm comfortable with. Because I think a lot of women undervalue themselves. And I think I'm one of those that I think it's just a natural tendency of ours. And so there's certain guys that I don't reach out to because I don't think I necessarily deserve that or I don't know how I'm going to measure up. And so my goal this time around is to really, truly go about it differently, be more open to it, go on more dates.
So let's talk about that. How do you not, in what ways don't you measure up in your mind?
Maybe I don't. I think sometimes when I look at some of these guys that seem to be like someone I would think would be amazing to date, I don't like have the career experience or.
So it's your resume that you're insecure about?
My resume, my life experience, like not as much as some, and then I don't know. I guess it's just like there's a certain, I don't feel like I fit the caliber. Like I don't dress a certain way or act a certain way. I get caught up in, this is me honestly getting caught up in what society says and thinks. And I don't usually I don't allow myself to, and I'm human and it happens. And so this is me in the middle of that. Like I will push myself to go on a date with someone even if I don't think I'm good enough. This is what I'm going to do this time.
Okay, but let's change the soundtrack in your head for a second. You're not good enough? Uh-huh. That's a bunch of BS.
I know.
Okay, so pushing yourself is good.
Yeah.
Outside of your comfort zone, even if it's a subconscious thought that says you don't measure up.
Yeah.
Okay? But let's get rid of the language.
Oh, I know. I'm trying.
That says...
That's what MA was trying to help me with, too.
So I can speak to this. I feel like I can speak to this. I have my own insecurities that were fostered at a very young age that I may never shake me. And one thing I've really come to learn and understand is not everything matters to people equally.
No.
So it was interesting today. We were talking about what other people on the team find attractive. And how interesting that is because it's not a shared experience.
Oh no, it's
everybody
all different. Yeah.
likes something different,
so
right?
True.
And you're exceptional in so many ways, and anyone that gets the opportunity to date you would be blessed. And the fact that I can't imagine a way you don't measure up. So that's first and foremost. They're getting the opportunity to date a mover and a shaker who has flipped 2 duplexes, lives in a beautiful home of her own making, by her own design, who is a renowned educator that teaches across the country. And you have a breadth of experience.
Maybe you should write my Hinge profile.
No, but and if I could challenge you in any way, the guy that you're looking for is probably very unconventional because you're unconventional.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't see you dating some, let me think of a great example. I don't see you dating a dentist, right?
Oh, God.
Because, and I'm not nothing against dentists. I just know you.
Because their personality-wise is probably not going to match.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think you and I probably we're alike to some degree. I think we put a little too much emphasis on the outward appearance. When it's funny to me because I think you and I prize intelligence and humor more than anything.
Yeah.
And personality over that. And one thing I've really come to understand is just not to limit my thinking in that way. And I've been blessed and beyond measure in many ways with experiences with people that had I had the mindset that they're out of my league or that I was operating out of some sort of deficiency, it would have totally changed that whole dynamic of that relationship, and it would have been nothing. And instead, across relationships, I've had great experiences that I treasure and people that I treasure. And in my current relationship, I would say that we hit all the buttons as far as physical attractiveness and personality and humor and intelligence. And I think more than anything, the thing that brought us together is a shared belief system. And so I think it's more of a challenge for you to find someone that shares your belief system. And then I think the other stuff will fall in place.
So I agree with you, and thank you for the compliments. I think the road that I'm hitting now, or the mindset that I'm going to have to get past, is that at 37, I've been fortunate to not get married. Actually, I see that as a fortunate because I was able to really learn a lot about myself and what I want. The feedback that I'm getting, which I would love for some single dude to write an article or a blog about this, they're intimidated by me because I have accomplished these things. And so if they're intimidated, I actually don't want them to approach me then. Because then they're not the right. So it's really slimming my pool down because I think I need a national app. I don't know if Hinge is International?
Let me tell you a story.
I need to go outside of Seattle, essentially.
Let me give you a story. Tell you a story. And you're not leaving Seattle. Don't talk
I mean, I'm
crazy.
not. No, they will move to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. That's better. All right. I'm going to tell you a love story.
Oh, God.
Her name is Sarah Underwood.
What?
And if you don't know who Sarah Underwood is, just Google her name. You should probably do it with filters on there because some naked pictures might come up. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman who grew up in Oregon, Washington, Pacific Northwest. Playboy, model, whatever. And she, after Playboy like disintegrates and after everything else, she kind of creates her own niche, which is modeling and doing like these adventure modeling where she visits places like Bali and Indonesia and
that's cool.
goes hiking and does all these fun experiences, and then people can follow her on Patreon or whatever. And she, in her pursuit of life and pursuit of her own adventures, she's looking for a photo shoot. She's looking for a place to shoot, a place to visit and do a photo shoot. And she finds these really small, ornate cabins that are hand-built by this guy.
Oh, okay. You showed me
Jacob.
one of these. Yeah.
And she contacts him through his Instagram, says, "Hey, I love your cabins. I'd love to arrange to do a photo shoot, you know." And so they meet, and they have their first meeting on videotape because she's there to do a photo shoot, right? And they start talking, and he's a second grade teacher from the New England.
Oh, how cute.
Who just has this passion for building these tiny cabins. So during the summer when he's not in school, he came out to the Pacific Northwest and he goes around the country and he builds these little cabins.
And they're amazing.
And so
What's his name again?
His name's Jacob. It starts
We'll
with a
have to look him
W.
up. I'll add his
Jacob
link in
W.
there.
And if you go to, I think their YouTube channel is Cabinland. I think they have an Instagram that's Cabinland as well.
Okay.
And my point of this story is, Sarah Underwood is a beautiful woman, funny, smart, makes a lot of money. Like, she checks off a lot of boxes for guys, right?
Yeah.
And so guys think that she's unreachable, or there's a lot of guys are weird, right? They have their own problems.
Insecurities, yeah.
Right? They fall in love over their love of the Pacific Northwest and over this idea to create this place called Cabinland, where they own 20 acres, and then they have all these tiny little cabins set up throughout the acreage, and it's a destination visit, right? Kind of like Treehouse Lane in Issaquah for Pete Nelson and his tree houses, and this is similar, right? They're going to attract people that want to share their interests in tiny house living in the Pacific Northwest, and free from the distractions of our current digital world. So we're not talking about internet and all this stuff. It's really off the grid. And it's neat. I just watched their video on YouTube for Cabinland, and it's neat to see the dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
Because he's a goofy math teacher. Mm-hmm. And she's a beautiful model. Mm-hmm. And it works. And I'm sure he could say, she's out of my league. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's aspects that he has where she could say that at any given time. And it's not about, to me, it's not, we're not sorting toys into bins. And it has to be this size and this color and this shape. Mm-hmm. I find that the people I love the most don't have as many criteria. Yeah. They just love people. Mm-hmm. Like, some of my favorite people on earth just love people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not surprised if they date opposite their gender or date the same gender because I just know that they love people. Yeah. And it's not about any of those things. Yeah. And so anyway, that's my love story to tell you, to just say, follow your heart, follow your passion, and on the way you'll meet somebody that shares
Maybe it'll happen at family reunion.
Can you say family reunion, please?
Family reunion.
Good job.
Thank you. Well, that was a good story.
Let's hope it doesn't happen at family reunion.
I mean, most likely it won't. Unless it's some random New Orleans person that lives there. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of ASMR and Whiskey. When Margaret and I have time to spend together and talk to each other, we'll do something else and talk about something else.
Yeah, we for sure will.
But thanks for spending this time with us.
Mm-hmm. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.